Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Tillman with another episode of What Would You Do? You're on patrol as a police officer or a highway patrol officer, and you see a car has their distress signal on. So you pull off on the side of the road to give them some type of assistance, and when you walk up on them, you see the door pop open very quickly. What do? Do you draw your gun out and just make sure that you give that person commands? Remember, you're on a safety check. Do you pull a taser out? And once you pull that taser out, tell him to stop. Don't come out of that car. Do you C, just continue to walk up without anything in your hand just because you're on a safety check? Or do you D, walk back to your car, get behind your door, and then give that person commands from your door? What do you do? All right, so now that I've given you your options, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna play the video, and I want you guys to tell me if you still would stick with your answer. Let's watch. So after watching that video, the answer to the scenario question is simple. You have to stay in the fight. This was an ambush on this officer. The officer had no idea that this was going to happen. For those of you guys that said you would have pulled your gun out as you walked up there as soon as that moment the door would open, yeah, it sounds good, but hindsight being 2020, now that we've actually watched this video, how did that officer have any clue that that person was going to try to do some type of harm to him? Because remember, he was there to check on the safety and well-being because that vehicle had the hazard lights on. And so because of that, there is no way that that officer would have been able to pull a taser out. There's no reason he needed to pull a taser out. There's no way that that officer should have pulled a gun out at that point in time, because in his mind, he's doing a safety check. And the odds of him moving back to his vehicle to get cover and stop it from there is already too late. And so that officer at that moment in time has one job and one job only, and that's to stay in the fight. That officer was actually shot 6 times, one time in his arm, and he was still able to get back onto his feet and deliver solid, impactful shots on that suspect, ultimately rendering him dead at the scene. Not only did he do that, but that officer was shot in his arm, and he applied a tourniquet to his arm so that way he could survive and survive that whole ordeal. This was a phenomenal job by the police officer given the circumstances that he was put in. This is not something that officers, expect to go on every single day to be ambushed like it, but it can happen at any given day at any given time. And so the moral of this scenario for you as the officer, or putting yourself in the shoes of an officer, is that we have a job, and that job is simple: to stay in the fight when put in a circumstance just like this. So I'm glad that that officer survived, and so I appreciate you watching this take, and just remember that the next time you are faced with having to decide what an officer should do, or if you're the police officer, use this as your own training if you so happen to find yourself in a terrible predicament like this one. Thanks again, and God bless.